Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and today I'm going to show you a technique at the sewing machine that'll really speed up your quilting. It's called chain piecing. So before we start with the chain piecing, I just want to give you a quick tip on making things be random. I'll lay out all the squares that I'm going to be sewing up in a project in no particular order, and then when I'm sewing, I will take them in order no matter what I am sewing them to. I'm not worried about, if I worry about making, does this one exactly match this one, or do these two look good together, I'll make myself crazy. And I'll kind of find myself using the same pairings over and over again. So I lay everything out totally at random, and then I just take them in the order that I come to them. So that's just a quick aside on forcing randomness. Right now I'm going to show you what's called chain piecing, which is what most quilters do when they're sewing blocks together, and it's a way to just speed up the process. So I'm going to just sew 3 blocks. So I'm going to take my top one, I count them out first just so I don't have to count them as I'm working. I butt up the edges, I get them down under my presser foot, and I sew the first one. Now as I get toward the end, I just stop and I grab my next pair of squares, right sides together, and lay them down, and I'm just going to butt them right up against there, and I'm just going to sew right continuously from one onto the next one. And I'm going to do the same thing one more time. This saves you, you wouldn't think that backstitching at the beginning and end would take you a ton of time, but just doing this and eliminating that backstitching and cutting the thread saves a ton of time. So I've done 3. When you take them out, you just need, I think I kind of are dangling all over the place, you just need to cut the pairs apart. And I want to show you one thing that you need to be careful with now that you've done these. Because you haven't backstitched at the beginning and the end, if you pull these apart, you really can pull your stitching out. That doesn't matter as long as you're careful with them while you're working on the quilt, because probably your next step is going to be sewing something across here to sew these together, and that's going to secure that stitch. But just until you get everything secured, you just need to be careful not to do this. So when you're pressing your seams open, just do it carefully. That's really the only drawback to this method, and it's not a big one. As you get used to doing it, you'll just get used to not pulling on those edges and keep everything secure. So that's it. When I'm sewing a lot of squares together or a lot of blocks together to make a quilt, I always chain piece. It's incredible how much time it saves you not to be backstitching and pulling it out and cutting the thread in between every single block. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World. I'll see you next time.